Hi Virgo, welcome to your end of November 2019 General Tarot Update. It's Raina here on a Sunday afternoon. Also one of those whatchamacallit, those reverse cards that I've been trying to avoid, but it is what it is. I've been getting that 10 of, I'm going to pick an additional card. I've been getting, oh, that'll really, let me, picking additional cards that feel like the end. Okay. Okay, first of all, you have several swords. So this can be air signs in your life, or a particular one who's really either creating problems. I would say if it's any of the air signs, it would be Libra. We have the Justice card in reverse as the end card. We have this, and this is kind of like reading it as a reverse card too. The Empress can be Taurus or Libra. Okay. The heart of the matter is a Page of Swords. This is a card of being very suspicious about a situation. It's funny, it's almost like watching your back. That's what it looks like, that person is looking behind them. But it's really about, it's not just about, well, I guess it is kind of self-protective, but it's like trying to ferret out information when none is forthcoming. That could be what's going on. But the point is that if this is a relationship, it's not a nice feeling, because it feels like you don't know who to trust, what's going on. Somebody may be, lying to you, and you know it deep in your gut, but you can't prove it. That's always an awful feeling. Same thing with the workplace. And we have here in the past position, the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. Now the Knight of Pentacles is Taurus, so I said Libra, but we have the representation of Taurus as well. In the upright position, the Knight of Pentacles is a very hard worker, somebody who's very, I wouldn't even say, somebody who's determined. And they may have financial goals that they're trying to fulfill. And that's why they're so determined. And they just plug away. They just, show up every day, but they're very reliable. This individual is not reliable. So since it's in the reverse position. So you may be like in a situation in the workplace. And this is interesting because this kind of reminds me of the dynamics of a family of where the parent is a narcissist, where they favor the child that is screwing up. And we all know that there are families like that. And it's like the other sibling or siblings say, gosh, I do everything right, I do this, I do that. And it's like they totally ignore my own efforts, but this person they give it all to. And this kind of thing plays out in the office as well. Why does the boss or the upper management favor this other person? It could be because they need somebody to be this kind of individual, so that the rest of the workers can feel like they don't know if they're going or coming. And that's because it creates kind of chaos in the mind, and it creates this sense of like not having a clue of what to do about it. And And, it just doesn't feel logical, in other words. But the thing is that it's very eye-opening because it allows you to see exactly what you're working with. And if you are trying to please your boss, this can make it so much easier to lose that need, where you no longer care about it because you're going to do what you do if you consider yourself a dependable worker. You're going to do it for its own sake, not because somebody's favoring you, giving you special attention and things like that. You want to help others. So the point is that when you feel like you can't be in an environment where you're not in an environment where everything is above board, where you have to kind of read between the lines to figure out what somebody's really saying, it's not a good environment. And actually the higher message kind of goes along with that, because we have the Ten of Swords. So this is the card of betrayal. But in the higher message, it's like a spiritual, the moral of the story, which is that you shouldn't be in denial because it keeps you from completing a cycle. There are a couple of cards here. We have the World and the Major Arcana, but this Ten of Swords can be like that kind of end of something, maybe something bad, a period of time that you'd rather put behind you. And when you are able to see it, you don't have to have proof. I think that's what I'm getting at here, Virgo. Virgo, I have the moon in Virgo, I've said this before, but Virgo loves evidence of things, the proof. All earth signs love to have that physical evidence. But the thing is that while you're trying to get it, you're really depleting your energy, you're wasting time, and it really doesn't matter. If you know something isn't right, that's all that should matter. And you don't have to go to all this trouble to prove your case. It goes without saying. And also I think with the Ten of Swords, it's like sitting with the concept of betrayal, because it's a very painful concept. It's something that we don't like to acknowledge because it feels like somebody deliberately tried to hurt us. And a lot of times I don't believe that they did. A lot of times I think that people in their quest for happiness, they just felt like they had to do what they had to do. And even if it meant that you suffer the consequences of it. And even people who are clearly narcissistic and they're looking to, those kinds of people who are looking for you to be in this kind of a chaotic state, if you are trying to prove your case, you're assisting them, aiding and abetting them in that goal, because you are taking your eyes off your own prize, your own dreams. So that's another reason why you don't need to spend time trying to prove to somebody that you know what they're up to, you know. What crosses you is the Empress, and this is the card of the mother, the artist. I think for some of you, if this is a workplace situation, you may be creative souls. And people who are creative, to me, it's like being spiritual, where they sometimes don't fit into the mainstream culture. And this shows up so apparently in the workplace, where there's a lot of conformity and a lot of, brown nosing and trying to be, like they have that term corporate culture, or trying to be putting yourself into a certain box so that you're acceptable, even if you're not that thing. And so the best thing you can do is to understand what you were up against and not to turn your back on your true dreams. So if you're somebody who's creative, this may be the universe's way of nudging you back in that direction where you kind of wandered off of what you came here to do. For other people, this can be like a card of like a woman who uses her sexuality to get what she wants. And what if you're a woman listening to this and you're with a man and now you are very suspicious of him? In some cases, there may have been an extramarital thing, and that's how you met him. And now the tables are turned, and you have to experience what the other person had to experience. Or just because you think that you may not think this on a conscious level, but based on your actions, you may think that you have that the valuable thing, the calling card that you have is your body. And so when you use that to lure somebody in, it only lasts so long if that person is really that shallow, because then they're going to be on to the next thing. And you're just kind of like yesterday's news. So it's really about, they talk about toxic masculinity, but there's toxic femininity too. There's the exploitation that a woman can do to herself. Now I know I'm going to probably get a lot of thumbs down for that. That's okay. It's, I'm not in junior high school anymore. I can handle it. But that's kind of what I see when I see the Empress in the challenge position. Or a situation where there's an agenda, where there's money, where you may be like looking for luxury with a person, just like how those exchanges are. The man looking for the sex appeal from the woman, and the woman looking for the financial affluence. The Empress is connected to Venus, and Venus loves pleasure. But pleasure has a dark side, and that's something to remember. The advice is the World card. This is, to me, about closure. But no, there's another term. Wrapping things up. What's the... what is that term? Not seeking closure, but seeking completion. Completion of a cycle. And this being something that you feel, it feels peaceful to you, because you know that it means that you are going to have a new cycle, and that's going to be really good for you. The World card could be about travel. It could be about graduation day, like graduating from college. I know it seems weird to graduate at this time of year, but that's when I graduated in December when I was in my 40s, because it took me a long time to go back and finish. So if there's something like that, that could lead to other things. So you might graduate college and then you get this opportunity to travel with a particular company. But I think too, in addition to the World card representing kind of that end of a cycle, to me it also represents expansion. So being in this little box, this, just so obsessed with this particular situation limits you, and you can let go of that because you're letting go of this limiting relationship. The outcome is the Ten of Wands. If this is like a job situation, maybe you do put in for a transfer overseas to get away from some kind of dark underbelly in your workplace, perhaps, Virgo. But you may be working very hard. It might be a very difficult assignment overseas, but it gives you the opportunity to get away from all of that drama. And then I just picked a few additional cards because I didn't really have to. I probably should have left well enough alone. But I picked an additional clarification card, and I got the Two of Swords. It's really about you have to make a decision. And in order to make a wise decision, you have to have clarity. So it's possible that you don't really have clarity right now. Again, I'm not talking about proving anything. I'm talking about the need for being able to see the situation as it is and move forward. And that includes accepting the fact, maybe mourning the fact that you were betrayed by somebody. Because this person may have presented themselves as caring about you, and betrayal like that is so counter anything positive. So then I got the Justice card in reverse. So I was thinking too, if you're taking somebody to arbitration, you have to be prepared that either, depending on, if this arbitration is part of the company, that it may be biased in the believing of the people who are above you, that they may not take your side. And so you have to be prepared that you're dealing with this kind of corporate culture where they do protect their own. And so that's why I say, is it worth it if you're in this toxic environment? Again, the Justice card is connected to Libra, so there might be somebody who's a Libra person who is really making your life a living hell, and you probably should have nothing to do with them, but that maybe you already know this, and you're just like, how can I get this person to leave me alone? And then we have the Four of Swords. I even think sometimes this is like a social media fast, because swords can be about communication. So yes, I do believe that you're going to pull away from social engagement because of some of these challenges and focus on yourself. But I also think you may try to physically separate yourself from somebody if this is in the same home that you share with this person. You may decide to separate from them physically so that you can have that mental space to be able to decide what your next move is going to be. But you're trying to take care of yourself, self-care, which is really good. So yes, it is very full of a lot of intrigue and stuff like that. Hopefully some of these cards at least made sense to you, Virgo. If you'd like a personalized reading based on your date of birth and your time of birth, I have like natal chart interpretations, looking at 2020, like what's coming up and things like that. Please check me out at rainandmoonastrology.com. The link to my online store is in the description box. Take care. Bye.